Hello, everyone. My name is Robert Van Kirk. You probably know that, though, because you like this page. Um, Most of you probably know that it's Pride Month. Um, the month of June, typically, across the globe, actually, is a month where we celebrate LGBTQ people and identities. Uh, but the reason why it's so important for me, why Pride Month is of particular importance, is because although something you might not know is that I'm actually gay. I've been out since I was 16 years old. Um, and I think it's so important that we talk about it as folks that are running for office, as folks who um, have a public image, and those who have a public presence. They need to talk about being LGBTQ, on the process of coming out, and of the importance of living your true self. Um, so a little bit about that. When I was in high school, I came out. Um, I'd always suspected that I was gay looking back on it, but it never occurred to me to put two and two together. Uh, for the longest time, they were just urges or feelings, and I didn't connect the dots. But it was only when I was 16 years old that I started to put, two and two together. I started to recognize the fact that actually, yeah, I just might be gay. But I had a girlfriend that didn't last too long, and it wasn't too healthy of a relationship, I suppose. Um, and after that is when I just decided to come out. And I first opened up and said that I was bisexual. And then eventually, once that settled down and the world didn't end, and um, yeah, my family didn't, kick me out or anything, I just came out and said that I was gay. Um, that was probably an important moment in my life because it transitioned, um, or it acted like a lens in terms of my activism. And so then I almost, not almost immediately, but after a certain period of time, I looked around and I said, well, I'd like to go to prom, but I don't really feel comfortable going to prom because I'm, taking a same-sex date to prom, or going to a prom filled with opposite sex couples where it's not really a welcoming environment for me just by the very nature of the event. I said, well, okay, I want to create a gay prom then. And so then I talked to other folks in the community, other folks leading gay straight alliances after I'd formed my gay straight alliance, because anyone that knows me knows that I don't half-ass anything. And if I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it right. And so I came out, and then I formed my high school's gay straight alliance, much to the chagrin of the administration of Holt High School in the Metro Lansing area. And and that's when we then formed this committee to create a prom experience for everyone in Michigan, regardless of sexual orientation or gender identity. And that was a wonderful experience, and we were able to pull together a whole lot of people and a whole lot of money to put on two very successful Pride proms, which is the first statewide Pride prom in the history of the state of Michigan. It was really successful. We had folks from all the way up in Traverse City and as far south as South Bend, Indiana, show up to our event. And that was incredibly inspirational because these were young people like me who were sharing their stories on how this is the first time they felt comfortable. This is the first time they've been able to dance with a same-sex date. This is the first time they've been able to attend an event like a prom as their authentic gender, right? And so that was really moving and inspirational for me, and that's kind of fueled my activism ever since then. Um, and especially in terms of LGBTQ, because I've gone on and I've done a lot of stuff for the community and with the community. But most importantly, I could only do that once I was my authentic self. I could only engage and lead and help others when I was true to who I was, when I was honest that yes, I'm gay. I'm a homosexual, and I'm fine with it, right? And there's nothing wrong with it. And I think if I can share any message with folks out there, um, any words of wisdom, it's be true to who you are. Don't surrender yourself because you're afraid of what others will think about you. And in terms of running for office now, I absolutely have to be true to who I am. And that's something that we've always done. We've never shied away in this campaign from the fact that I'm a gay person, in part because it's nearly impossible, right? When I was in high school, I was on the front page of the Lansing State Journal, which is the local newspaper in the Lansing area, with my boyfriend at the time pinning a corsage in my chest, talking about the big gay prom I was organizing. So it's impossible for me to go back in the closet, right? And to an extent it should be, because going back into the closet is painful and it hurts, and you're no longer living your authentic self. And so in this campaign, we have talked about the issues that people care about, be it a $15 minimum wage tied to inflation, or Medicare for all for the people of the state of Michigan, reinvesting in our schools or bridges, whatever. That's what we've been talking about. And we've been so hammering that home over and over and over again that no one has really brought up the fact that I'm gay, right? Not that we're hiding it, but it's just not been a topic of conversation. It's treated as normal because everything that I do is focused on the issues that are important to people. And being gay is not one of the most important issues in terms of my identity as a politician, as somebody running for office. And that's a different story than what occurs for my friends who are running across this country who are also LGBTQ. I attended a training in Houston, Texas, as part of the Victory Institute, which is connected to the Victory Fund, which is a huge LGBT organization that supports candidates like me running across the country. And I was meeting folks who were running in Texas and in West Virginia and in Pennsylvania and in Ohio and in Kentucky. And a lot of them, when they talk about how the news media is treating them, how other people are treating them, even other candidates running for office, they're treated as the gay candidate, right? And that's something that we haven't really had in this race, which is interesting. But I think what's most interesting, though, is one of the first LGBT people ever elected to any public office in the history of the state of Michigan, and that's Harvey Milk. And this is a bit of a history lesson, but so Harvey Milk was elected a Board of Supervisors position in San Francisco. And Harvey ran as an openly gay candidate. It was very expressly gay, in part because the area that he was running in San Francisco had a huge LGBT community there. And so that was one of the resources that he was tapping into to win on election day. And eventually he did win. And the person that he had unseated was very homophobic and didn't appreciate being unseated. But in one of his speeches, he was a great public speaker. He spoke on the issue of visibility. And so this is a bit of that speech. Somewhere in Des Moines or San Antonio, there's a young gay person who all of a sudden realizes that he or she is gay, knows that if their parents find out, they will be tossed out of their house, their classmates will taunt the child, and the Anita Bryants and John Briggs are doing their bit on TV. And that child has several options: staying in the closet, suicide, and then one day that child might open the paper and it says homosexual elected in San Francisco. And then there are two new options: go to California or stay in San Antonio and fight. 2 days after I was elected, I got a phone call, and the voice was quite young. It was from Altoona, Pennsylvania. And the person said, "Thanks. And you've got to elect gay people so that young child and the thousands upon thousands like that child know that there's hope for a better world. There's hope for a better tomorrow. Without hope, not only gays, but those blacks and the Asians and disabled and seniors, the us's. Without hope, the us's give up. I know that you cannot live on hope alone, but without it, life's not worth living. And you and you and you got to give them hope." And so that's what I'm trying to do. And that's what I see a lot of other people across Michigan and across this country trying to do. They're trying to give them hope. Because although we've made progress, although you can be married on a Sunday, you can still be fired from your job on Monday. You can still be denied a doctor. You can still be denied public accommodations, especially with the most recent Supreme Court case. We still don't have civil rights protections in this country and in this state. And until we do, not only will it be important to have visibility, not only will it be important to be out and proud as who you are, but it's essential that we elect LGBT folks to office. because without representation, no ally is going to cut it. And I've spoken to a lot of elected leaders, and one in particular, and I asked her why in 2008 to 2010, when we had Democratic majorities, super majorities in the House and the Senate and the Democratic president, why we didn't get the Employment Non-Discrimination Act, which would have prevented me from being fired from my job for being gay. And she said, and I quote, "There were just other priorities." And as long as we have as long as we allow them to have other priorities, they will have those other priorities. But the important thing is we can't let them. We can't let our elected leaders skate by with words and platitudes while they're running for office and accomplish nothing for us once they're in office. And one of the only ways to ensure that those elected leaders will be held accountable, will work for us, will represent us, is by electing our own people to those legislatures, to those city councils, to those US Senates and Congress, right? It's so important that we have true representation for all of our communities, because I'm sick of trusting and believing that somebody else is going to step up and defend my community and defend myself. And so as a result, I've stepped up and I'm running for office. And I'm running for office as an openly gay man. And I'm hoping that somewhere out there in the Altoona, Pennsylvanias of this world, there's a young kid who will open up a paper on November 7th and see wave of LGBT people elected across this country. And they'll feel like they're not so alone. And they'll feel like maybe, just maybe, there's nothing wrong with being who they are. And that hopefully then they will live their authentic selves. Thank you.